Hey guys, DB here, and I'm here to review Diablo 3 for you today. First of all, if you're a gamer and you don't know what Diablo 3 is, that means you probably don't know anything about the Diablo series at all. To which I would say you would have to go back to 1996 when Diablo 1 was first released to experience this game. Now here's a few ways you can do that. 1, you can do anime style teleport. 2, you can go to Back to the Future type of DeLorean transport. 3, you can invent some type of time machine like in Time Machine, but don't go all the way in the future because that's going to be bad. Or you can just download the DOS emulator and play it like that. Either way is fine. So basically I'm going to run you through the game and show you the skills, etc. like that, and show you what I like about it, dislike about it, personal thoughts, opinions, and also I'm going to talk about the computer hardware you may want to invest in to be able to run this game at high quality settings, if you're interested at all. So without further ado, let's get started. Being a fan of the Diablo series, especially D2, I already have a pretty high bar set up for this game. Like unbelievably high. Higher than the bar I have set up for the new XCOM. Higher than all the people at a Bob Marley concert. You get my point. Getting into the game, the first thing I noticed was the interface. It still has that Diablo 2 feel, but with an actual chat box. So no more of that annoying spam text that we all know and love whenever a bot joins the game randomly. Moving around, controls feel great. It's almost surprising how well the controls respond and feel. It's almost as natural as Nicki Minaj's hair. Okay, bad example. But you know what I mean. The controls are slick, the attacks are generally spot on. However, if there's something to be mentioned, it is that there's no more alt-clicking on the ground to get into a better position into the middle of mobs. Trying to position yourself in the middle of mobs to try to get the most out of your AoE attack almost is impossible. So instead, what do? Hammer through the front line like a boss. That's basically it. So far I've only been able to try out the Monk and the Wizard classes, but I can tell you, I'm pretty impressed. I was a bit turned off at first because of how limiting the skill choices seemed. I mean, only 5 skills at a given time with a delay on switching skills. You gotta admit that was a little disappointing. But after playing with all the different skill combinations and customizations you can do, it actually is a lot more versatile than one would think. Out of the 2 that I've tried, I definitely love the Monk. He's the type that can dash in, kick and punch everyone's faces in, dash out, and knock back everyone and their Monk. Kinda sounds like another type of Monk hero, doesn't it? The Wizard, on the other hand, is more like an AoE specialist, with slowing and freezing crowd controls as well as being able to blow shit up at a great distance. But I don't know guys, the Monk will probably be my main just because smashing things, blinding things, kicking things, and dashing into things and kicking it again is just my type of style. I was going to try the Witch Doctor before the beta weekend was over, but I took one look at it after I created the character and didn't feel like going Tarzan in the loincloth today. Also, the progressive crafting system feels really nice. Though we can easily acquire better gear by just killing random monsters early game before we can even craft something worth our time, I imagine that on release this system will catch up and be more beneficial in the harder difficulty modes. With all the great things I've said so far about this game, it should be noted that the boss encounters do feel like we're fighting a boss in World of Warcraft. I mean, the Skeleton King fight, for example, felt like it only had 2 mechanics to dodge and mob spawn after a certain amount of time, and so on and so forth, and the rotation continues, yada yada yada. A little like another type of boss, but a bit more mobs. That being said, I guess you really can't blame Blizzard for implementing mechanics like this in the game when it's been so successfully fun thus far. But I mean, for the Skeleton King fight, they could have mixed it up a bit, you know? Instead of him summoning skeletons, he could have summoned something like Teletubbies, or dinosaurs, or something random, you know, that gets the audience surprised. But in all fairness, Blizzard did add extra skills to the bosses when multiple players are in your game. For instance, with 2 people in the same game, the Skeleton King gets a new ability in which he becomes an ethereal form and takes 3 huge swings that hurt a lot. So bravo Blizzard. So now we're going to talk about all the hardware you should have in your computer to be able to play this game at either optimal, minimal, or super high graphics. After talking to other people who played in the beta, and helping my friend build computers to handle this new game as well as for the upcoming game Guild Wars 2, we found that this game isn't really super graphically demanding, but for minimal gameplay, we would recommend at least a 2.8 GHz dual-core Intel with at least a GTX 260 or 550 if you want to save some money. 4 gigs of RAM would probably be optimal for this game, but you can get away with 2 gigs if they're at least 1333 MHz. For higher resolution gameplay, with cost in mind, the computer my friend and I just put together carries an i5 2500K with an NVIDIA GTX 560 Ti graphics card. Pretty good card and pretty good processor for future games, but at the same time the card can be downgraded to a GTX 550 or 550 Ti for D3 and it should still be able to run it on high settings no problem. For ATI Radeon and AMD people, the Phenom 2 processors would be ideal for good gameplay, as well as the Radeon 6870 or 5870 for lower cost. Of course, if you're aiming higher, the GTX 580 for NVIDIA Plus or the 6990 Plus would be the ultimate gaming choice. Of course, these are just my personal opinions after building several gaming computers. You can probably find people out there who know a lot more than I do, so it depends all on your wallet size as well as personal preference. In any case, this game will be kick-ass. So, that concludes this episode of my review of Diablo 3 Open Beta Weekend. Feel free to leave your comments, suggestions, questions, or whatever in the box below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, don't forget to like me on Facebook right there, facebook.com/gamerdb, and I'll see you guys next week. Good luck and have fun.